Welcome to Sober Talk. I'm Dennis and I have lived experience of alcohol. If you or anyone you know is struggling with alcohol, please call Alcoholics Anonymous on 1300 222222 or check out their website on aa.org.au. I'll just run through the preamble of Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other. They must solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety.
Hi, my name is Chris and I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was affected by alcohol long before I picked up a drink. My father was a violent drunk. I shan't call him an alcoholic. That would be for him to decide, should he still be alive. He would come home many a night drunk and the rows would start, and many a night I wanted to kill him for what he was doing to my mum. And on many occasions, my mum would pack all the kids up and leave. And, I could never fathom out why she kept going back. And it wasn't until many years after, when I was sober, that I realized she still loved him. And it never occurred to me that maybe after an upbringing like that I shouldn't drink. I picked up a drink at an early age, around about 14 or 15. I did what most young men and young boys at that time did. I picked up a drink, picked up a cigarette, and started chasing girls. And I found all three. I met my to-be wife when I was 15. And we partied hard, we started going to nightclubs and things like that at an early age, and I did an apprenticeship, and most Friday afternoons during that apprenticeship, you'd find me sitting in a club, not back at work, and my life was starting to revolve around alcohol. If my friends wanted to go somewhere where alcohol wasn't going to be, I'd always try and turn them back to at least ending up where alcohol was going to be. And the sneakiness started in my life. When it was my turn to buy a round of drinks, I'd go up to the bar and I'd order a quick one for myself first, while aboard the rest one, I'd be drinking that one. And at the age of 20, we got married, and we emigrated to Australia. And I arrived on December the 13th, 1974, at 6:30 in the morning, and met my brother in Sydney. And the first thing he did was took me to an early opener. And I thought I'd come to paradise. That pubs are open at 6:30 in the morning in Sydney. It's wonderful. And we both eventually found a bit of work and started partying and started making a few friends, and I became the drunk of the party. But in the group, at the end of the night, you'd find me either asleep in the corner, or drunk, passed out, or making a nuisance of myself. It wasn't always fun to be around Chris at the end of the night. So after about 5 or 6 years, my wife was starting to make noises about starting a family, and my sister had moved to Adelaide, and I'd come here for a visit, and she had just purchased a house, and we liked the cost of the price of the housing, and decided to move and try and settle down here. And shortly afterwards, my first son came along, and I was no longer had the money to go at the bottle shop and just pick and choose whatever I fancied. I had to downgrade my expectations, and like a lot of us, I I went on the home brew kick, and I got quite good at that, making home brew beer when I would leave it in the bottle long enough to become beer. I'd drink it after it'd been in the bottle 3 or 4 days, and I'd start off with what I'd say was one decent bottle. I'd buy one from a bottle shop, and that got the taste. And after that, I didn't really care what I drank. I drank this home brew, and it was awful stuff. But if I left it in the bottle, it became okay. And then my drinking became a series of switching my brand of alcohol to try and hide the fact I was drinking from my wife and family. And after getting fed up with the brewing mess and whatever, I switched to the nice big box of wine you put in the fridge. I thought that was also good because my wife couldn't see the level going down, and I could sneak a glass of wine whenever she wasn't looking. And that went on for quite some time, and my wife mentioned that we may be spending too much on wine and not enough on things for the kids and food and whatever. And my solution was, yes, we'll cut down, darling, but my real solution was to have a spare cask stashed in the bedroom. So whenever she went out, I'd pull the bung out, the one in the fridge, and I'd top it up with the one in the bedroom. And I thought I was being clever doing that because I could didn't have to buy the same brand of wine to swap the boxes around. But sometimes I'd forget which type of wine we're drinking. Mixed Moselle with Riesling, or a sweet wine with a dry wine, and she'd have a glass of it and say, "What's this? It's not what's on the label." And I'd say, "That's all right. Just drink it. Just drink it." And then along the track a bit, I heard you couldn't smell vodka and you couldn't taste it. And I thought, that's the shot. I'll drink that. Nobody will know I've been drinking. So I'd have my vodka and maybe a glass of wine with tea, and I'd tell my wife that it was a glass of wine that was making me bounce along the walls as I was having going down the passage, And the insanity was that after having one drink, my eyes light up, and people know straight away. But I couldn't be honest about it. I just had to lie, and which was the insanity of alcoholism. I couldn't tell the truth, and after many years of this, I was retrenched from a job I was doing, and towards the end of my drinking, and that led to me being a husband for 2 years, and I can relate to some of the ladies' stories during that time. My drinking became a system of rewards for my housework became a system of rewards for a drink. I'd do a load of washing, that was worth a drink. A bit of vacuuming, that was worth a drink. Midday movie would come on. I was sure the ladies would sit down and watch the movie for lunch. So I'd have my lunch and watch the movie, and my lunch just happened to be another drink or two. And at 3 o'clock, I had to go and pick the kids up from school. And school was only a 5-minute walk away, but I had to jump in my car no matter what condition I was in during the day and go and pick the kids up. And at the beginning, I'd walk out the car to the school and pick the kids up from the classrooms. But at the end of it, they had to come and find me as I was sitting in the car drinking more wine. Sometimes my eldest son tells me he was terrified to get in the car because he could see I could barely see across the bonnet. That's where drinking took me, and it got me in the end that I came up with this plan. I thought that I needed 6 weeks off drinking to break the cycle. I knew I had to break the cycle. I didn't know what it was about. But I had this magic idea. It was 6 weeks. And I thought when I got locked up, I broke my leg and ended up in hospital for 6 weeks. That would do. And At that time, whenever I was out driving the car, I would have a stubby of beer between my legs. And any a time as I saw a police officer on a motorbike coming up behind me, I put my hand over the top of the stubby so he couldn't see it. And I'd be itching to show him so he could lock me up for 6 weeks. But I was never game enough to try. And I never broke my leg, so I never ended up in hospital. So I moved on to that solution, and I thought my only real solution was suicide. And back then I thought that if I committed suicide, my wife and kids could get on with their lives, and I'd be out of the misery I was in. And the truth was really that it was still all about me. It was about me. I just wanted me to be out of the misery, stuff my wife and kids, I was still a husband to my wife, not a very good one at that time. And I was still a father of 2 children that I was going to prepare to leave behind. And very fortunately, it didn't happen. After getting an argument with my wife, I determined that's what I was going to do. And I went out the shed and selected a big strong rope, picked up my best friend, my bottle of vodka, and I was off out the front door to find a tree suitable for tying a rope to. And if you ask me why the telephone jumped off the wall into my hand and I found myself speaking to an AA member, I would have said, I don't know. Back then the phones were on the wall. Then this AA member asked me to go to a meeting out at Two Wells with him the following evening, and I agreed. And he said he'd pick me up and take me to the meeting. But by 6:30, 7 o'clock, I was hoping he wouldn't come. I was desperate for a drink. But they came. Thankfully, he came. And he took me out to the meeting, and I was going out to the meeting thinking, if I stop drinking, all the fun times will stop. And I realized that all the fun times had stopped a long, long time before that night. It was just like alcohol lying to me. And I went out that meeting, and it was a very small meeting room. And I can remember all the faces of the people in the room, even though it's a long time ago. But I can't remember one word that was said actually during the meeting. But during the smoke or break and the talk after the meeting, I found happy, sober people laughing and enjoying themselves. And that blew me away that people could have fun without alcohol. I thought you always needed a drink to get you in the party mood. But you didn't. And at that meeting, it was organised from the guy to pick me up and take me to the Saturday evening meeting. And I had another plan that my wife was going to a Cub Scout camp that weekend. And I hadn't planned it. I was going to go on a bender to end all benders. And come Monday morning, I wasn't going to need to drink again. So at this meeting, it was organised from the guy who picked me up on a Saturday night. And on the Saturday morning, I'll just have one drink to steady my nerves a bit, and maybe I'll have a drink after the meeting, and I'll still go down my road with the bend at end all benders as well as I had. And one drink for alcohol is not very good because it starts the craving, and by the time the guy come to pick me up and take me to the meeting, I was pretty well drunk. And my crazy head kicked in, saying I probably shouldn't go to the meeting drunk. They'll throw me out. It's a long walk home. I had no money left to get a taxi, I think, home from where he was going to take me. And none of my crazy thoughts came true. When the women still put their hands out there, and they said, keep coming back, son, it'll get better. And the following day was the last day I had a drink. The following day was the first day of my sobriety. And the members loved me back to health. I went to lots and lots of meetings then, and slowly but surely my life turned around. I was unemployed at that time, and they told me not to rush around and get a job and just to concentrate on my sobriety. and it worked wonders for me. I one day at a time, my life got better, and eventually I did get back to work, and my wife by then had joined Al-Anon, and we were both led into service, and service is a very big part of our fellowship. To give back, to help other people is great. It really is. And I like nothing better than to see somebody coming through the doors sick and sorry and shivering and shaking, and slowly but surely see the lights turn on and then get the life back together, and get the health back together, and hopefully the family back together. It's a wonderful experience to see somebody recover from alcoholism. And, I have a very good life today. Both me and my wife have been involved in service, which has stood us in good stead. We both are heavily involved in our fellowships. It's a wonderful experience. And in my private life, I have 4 wonderful grandkids. I have two beautiful children, 4 wonderful grandkids. The grandkids have never seen me drink, and I never want them to. It's a wonderful experience. And I have a good life today. In my working career, I changed jobs several times, and managed to get through that sort of experience. I didn't like the changes, but I with the help of the fellowship, I managed, and I didn't need to resort to a drink. That's the beauty of this thing, that there's always somebody to talk to. There's always somebody done something that before me that I can ask for advice from, if I'm willing to, And we've retired these days, and we do a bit of traveling around, and we've been overseas a few times, and we've done meetings in Scotland and England and Singapore. It's wherever I go, there's fellowship. So that's one of the first things I do when I'm planning a holiday is to see where the meetings are, because this is my medicine for my alcoholism, and I need to take this medicine on a regular basis. Otherwise, there's a chance I'll forget. If I forget, my alcoholism will come back and say, "I'm not an alcoholic. Why don't you try a drink?" And I don't want that experience. I don't want that experience. So I keep coming to meetings and in the hope I can help somebody else get sober, and to keep myself sober. It's an easy thing to do. If somebody had cancer and they were told by coming to a meeting or 2 every week, they could get rid of their cancer, they'd come willingly, they'd be running into AA. But alcoholics, they still keep on trying to manage alcohol. And unfortunately I can't. And today I understand I can't. And like I said, me and my wife have just invested in a caravan. We're now a couple of grey nomads, experience a bit of this wonderful country, and that's a sober trip, for me. She still has a drink. She's not an alcoholic, and that doesn't worry me today. If other people drink, it's not my worry. It's just as long as I don't drink, it's fine. And we just spent 6 weeks in Queensland and managed to get to a few meetings, and there was a couple of Al-Anon weekends we attended. It was really good fun, really good fun. We like to get around and meet new people and talk about recovery and do recovery-oriented things, And tomorrow, I say this not to brag. I think I will be celebrating my 30th year in sobriety, and it's an amazing fellowship. You can come here and have a good life. Tomorrow morning I'll get up and I'll know what I did the night before, and that's a wonderful experience. To know what I do on a daily basis. And today my life is very simple. I just put around the garden. I go for a walk somewhere, and I'm eternally grateful for this wonderful fellowship, and I'll end my little story there, and I'll just end with, may your God go with you.
We have local meetings for the full week in the local area. Monday is Gala meeting at 8 o'clock. Tuesday is Elizabeth East at 8 o'clock. Wednesday is Elizabeth East at 8 o'clock. Thursday is Two Wells at 8 o'clock. And Friday is Salisbury at 8 o'clock. There's a meeting at Davron Park at 12 o'clock. And on Sunday there's a meeting in Salisbury at 7 o'clock. And many other meetings in the area. For details of your local meetings, please phone 1300 22 2222. And once again, if anyone you know is struggling with alcohol issues, please call Alcoholics Anonymous on 1300 22 2222. The website is aaSouthAustralia.org.au.